How do you stop caring about what other people think about you? You gotta start believing in yourself, man. Like, what are you talking about? You gotta start valuing and respecting yourself enough to make the changes now that other people will remember you for later. And the people that are hating on you most right now see something in you that they see in themselves that they didn't go and act upon, that they didn't believe in themselves enough to go and pursue. Like maybe you have this grand goal, or this grand dream, or this grand vision, you shared it with someone that you care about, or you start walking along that path. You're going to experience haters and adversity and people coming in and trying to steer you off that path. But mate, you have to believe in it. Don't expect someone to see the vision that God's given uniquely to you, or your purpose has been given uniquely to you. They won't often see it until it comes to pass. And you have to just distance yourself from that by like asking God to protect your heart, be able to ask Him to show you who you can share these visions and these goals with, so that you don't talk too soon in case the path was not the right path for you. And you need to really ask God for confirmation of your path exactly, so that way you can be like, okay, I'm going to walk this direction that you want me to go. I'm not going to talk too soon in case I change it. Now I sound like someone who's not following through on their words themselves. I don't develop a reputation for myself by someone who doesn't follow through on what I say. Therefore, I don't have the confidence. But like, there's been plenty of times in my life, man, where the people closest to me have betrayed my trust when I've had a vision or a goal, and they've been like, how come you haven't done this yet, or how come you haven't done that yet, or that's a dumb idea, or saying that like, it's not possible. Like whenever I've tried to make the transformation in terms of like the gym or whatever, it's like, why are you taking the protein powder, or why are you doing this or that or the other, or like people making fun of me for the food I would eat at work when it's clean and healthy, and they're eating like a bag of chips and donuts and Doritos and stuff, and I'm like, bro, I just don't want to be like you. I've got my own goals. And so expect that there's going to be opposition when you start to make these changes, because people will see you as someone who reminded them of the person they could have been, but they weren't willing to put in the hard work and sacrifice and sweat to become it. So all they can do is hate on you for being who they gave up on. And it sucks, because that's the person that you don't want to become like, and you can't help but feel sorry for them, because you realize there's so much more within them, but you just realize that they're just an unhealed person. They don't have that belief in themselves that they can go and achieve it. Still a victim of self-pity and sin and vices and all this unbelief, man, and it kills me, bro. So you got to distance yourself in love from those people, I think, guys, not by like cussing them out. You're going to have to stand firm on what you believe in. Sometimes you're going to have to be kind and firm with them. Be like, okay, if that's what you think, so be it. This is what I think, and I'm willing to stand on it. And if I fail, so what? I'm going to get up and keep trying until I succeed. And sometimes you have to say nothing. Sometimes you just take a lick and be like, all right, this is just what that person says. I'm going to let it wash over me, because they're not God, they're not me. Therefore, their opinion is honestly irrelevant. And sometimes there are people that hate on you that are giving you the right opinion. Like if there's enough people that are close to you and in touch with God, and they're saying, hey bro, this is probably not right for you, maybe they can see something that you don't. You should go and seek God about that. Be like, is this really the path that I should be going down? But often, guys, like people just hate on what they gave up on, and you've got to understand that while you're going along a transformation, that you're going to have that opposition. Sometimes the opposition is yourself, it's the old strongholds, the old you trying to pull you back, and you have to be ready for that, man. You have to be ready to understand that there's going to be spiritual attacks. There's going to be the enemy coming in through other people trying to distract you and dissuade you off that path. Try and meet you with discouragement and with despair. Different adversities and tests, which guys, the tests like God gives to His strongest soldiers, bro. Like you got to understand, there's going to be different times where like people are going to try and mess with you to see if you really want this, And at that point, if you can sit and be like, okay, maybe my test here isn't just about becoming that person over here and achieving this goal. Maybe it's about developing my patience. Maybe it's about developing my empathy and my love and having a conversation that's difficult. Or maybe it's about developing boldness and being firm, developing a voice for myself about staying true to what I believe in and being able to voice that with respect to someone else. Maybe that was part of your calling that's way down here, but you have to develop that skill right here. So stay true to what God has said and what He's spoken over your life, and get that confirmation in prayer. And then don't hate people for hating on you. Instead, love them the same way Jesus did. Forgive them, Father, they don't know what they're doing. And just torch them with success. Like, torch them with success, man. Like, just let your actions do the talking, and you won't have to talk down to them. You won't have to do anything else, but you just go and win so hard that they can't help but question themselves, and they can't help but come around, and instead of being a hater, turn into your biggest fanboy. And it happens all the time, man. Whether it be relationships trying to come back into your life from before, or Friendships that fell apart trying to come back, it's like they always come back at some point in time, and whether they want to say it or not, there's a degree of admiration and respect for when you do turn your life around, you stick through to what meant something to you, that they can see you didn't give up on it even though they tried to knock you off that path. They can't help but respect you, man. Like, the difference between hate and love is a few degrees of separation when it comes to this type of hate. And so understand that they actually probably secretly admire you in some way, but they just don't believe it in themselves enough. So they haven't been taught, instead of trying to bring people down, instead to ask them for support is what they're really asking for when they tend to hate on you, man. So realize that it's okay to face that opposition. Welcome it, so you can develop the chance to develop empathy and compassion for other people, but also like know how to distance yourself from it. Like, you don't have to get involved with people on social media or in real life, even if they're being so negative towards you. Sometimes your circumstances, like, you might be at a home that's not very supportive of your goals and your dreams and your vision. Well, then maybe you should probably scale back how much you share. Again, use discernment. With everything I say, like, ask God about how to deal with this first rather than listening to me. Listen to God, He's perfect. I'm not. I'm just giving you my advice about what I've experienced. Sometimes I have to hold my tongue because it's not the right time to say things, or I don't know the right way to say it in grace or in love. So it might be best for me not to, to read the room. And something you get with experience is like knowing that where people are at, they may not be ready to hear your goals, even though they do support you. They might not be understanding at the point in time, like, how to communicate their support for you. And it might come off in a way that is going to dissuade you and distract you from your goals, because you're going to have to start, kind of getting defensive and trying to be like, no, it does make sense to me. But they might just not see it, and that's okay. The point is, do you see it? Do you believe in it? Are you willing to keep feeding into that belief with positivity and day in, day out action and repetition in order to achieve it? Because some people, guys, they don't have the faith that you do. They don't have the same belief and perseverance that you do. They might need someone like you to prove them wrong, not in a bad sense to be like, I did it and you couldn't tell me any other way, but to prove yourself right and to just like follow what God has called you to do, so that they can be like, oh, you know what? He was right about honoring God, and this is where he ended up from it. This is what obedience looks like, and look how much prosperity has come in his life from it. Even though he had all these adversities, and he was praising God throughout it, like, he kept believing, kept showing up day in, day out, kept trusting God to supply. And then look at this on the other side. Now he's got a wonderful life. How did that happen? Well, it wasn't by mistake. It was by his conscious choice every single day to trust God and to keep persevering when other people said it wasn't possible. But he believed it, and that's what mattered. And that's what you get, guys, when you develop a personal relationship with Christ. When you do show up day in, day out, pushing past pain and fear and failure in the gym, and not negotiating with the lesser version of yourself, not negotiating with temptations, not allowing those lesser thoughts and values to come in and influence your life, and those limiting beliefs and excuses. When you slaughter those things, guys, and you replace with the positive habits, the godly habits, the daily system of progression that I teach in every video on my channel, guys. And every video I talk about, every time I talk about, like, it's all Christ-centered, man. And it's like you're developing that patience, perseverance, endurance, sweat equity, all those values, guys. That's the whole point of life. Is that you can come back around and save the people who were in that negative state, because you set such a great example for them, because you didn't give up on them. You might have to distance yourself for some time, but it was a positive distance with respect, with kindness, with still honoring that person in order to honor and respect where God has called you in your life. And then when they see that example, man, they've seen that you've done it the way, it hasn't pushed people away and haven't hated and put them down for their limiting beliefs. You might have to block some people, man, you have to cut some people off. That's okay. Come back around later and be able to help them, because you now have the patience, the personality, the characteristics that's able to communicate with that effectively, as well as be able to meet them where they're at, because you've developed that relationship with Christ, who also met us where we're at. And so now you have that empathy for them to understand that they just didn't have maybe the right education or the right relationships at home growing up, and they didn't have that belief fed into them. Well, now you can feed that belief into them. You were strong enough to ignore them when they were hating on you. Now you're also strong enough to lift them back up when they need the support too. But in order to be able to lift them up, you've got to be great yourself. You're at least on that path of progression. You're not always going to be perfect, guys. Not always going to get this perfect, even when you're so much greater in a certain metric than other people, right? But I'm just saying that, like, a degree of progression is needed in order to give influence in a right way. Otherwise, they're probably just going to keep hating on you because you haven't got to their level of standard. You know what I mean? Not that that's the measurement of where you should go, but I'm just saying that, like, some competence is required before you give advice in a particular area. Otherwise, why would they want your advice in the first place? But yeah, guys, don't give up on people, man. Like, people are the wealth of life, and if we look at examples of people throughout like I'll drag it back to to Jesus. It's like the people who were the worst of people ended up becoming like the biggest saints or the biggest spreaders of the faith in the world, because they got to experience the love of Christ, the empathy, the understanding, the compassion and kindness of him, and they turned away from their old wicked ways, they turned away from their sinful past, and began like able to share that love with everyone else too, saying that we were unworthy, but God was able to bring his love to us because he just met us where we were at and allowed him to do the work through us, because we found someone who was holy and perfect. It was not us, and they've humbled themselves before God, and they've gone out into the world to share that love with everyone else and to heal them of their sin and to heal them of their problems. Same way I look at I know it's a bit different, Jesus to Dragon Ball Z, but I look at Dragon Ball Z and it's like, how Goku, fights all these bad guys, but then gives them a chance to redeem themselves after they've done all these terrible things. It's like he has mercy on them. Same mercy that God's had on us. I see it echoing through all these different movies or whatever in life, like Dragon Ball, for example, and then you look at Vegeta, for example, the evil person ends up becoming the best hero that there is, because someone showed him mercy and compassion when he's at his lowest. And that's really lessons that I've learned, that I've adapted into my own life, man. And sometimes you gotta be hard with people, you gotta kick the shit out of them, like Goku does first, and then it gives them a chance at mercy. But I don't mean to actually go and start physical fights, guys. What I'm saying is that you gotta stand up for yourself and stand firm, at least, fight with your words in a kind, respectful way, be firm, and then prove them wrong, so you can help them onto the right path. That's how I deal with haters. I encourage you to seek the word of God about that, and ask God in prayer as well, and you'll be well guarded, I think, against the wrong influences of your life, man. You guys know what to do. Listen to the voice from within. It's never going to steer you wrong, man. Listen to God. Listen to the Holy Spirit talking to you, because he's there for you, man. He wants a good life for you, bro. So just communicate, and just do your journaling, man. Work through it with God. I know these things are really difficult when you have people that are close to you who are spreading into you things that are hurtful and talking down your goals, but you just have to understand it it's a temporary place in life, and if you can have the strength to endure it and to distance yourself in a healthy way, then you really have the chance to help that person out a lot later, which is a really rare form of love, but a very strong form of love, guys. So you got to forgive people for the wrong that they've done to you. Doesn't always mean reconciliation, but at least the forgiveness lays the path for that if you decide to go down that path. But if you forgive them, you can unchain yourself from them having free real estate in your head, which you're not charging them rent for, with their opinions and their limiting beliefs existing in there. No, you can forgive them for what they don't know. You can let them sort out their own journey, trust God to look after them, and you're able to come around later after you've achieved your goals and teach them from a perspective of love and from empathy if they need it at the time, if they haven't gone and done the personal development themselves. And if not, you've gained the experience and the wisdom to be able to help other people or deal with other people along the path that you meet that also might be in a position of hating on your success or hating on your development that's going towards the success. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it so much. Again, guys, join my community if you want extra support, extra help, a brotherhood of guys who want to, be God honoring, God fearing, God loving for their family. We've got the programs in there. We've got a training app, personal vlogs and accountability. We all work together. These champions battle themselves in perfection. We've got challenges, we've got prizes, so much more in there, guys. Join the group. I'd love to see you in there. And yeah, God bless. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.